Hi guys, we are the Italy group focusing on the Renaissance period, primarily after the 15th century. One of the big parts of this time period was Italian villas. These villas are just mainly just large houses that are on architectural estate. They're found in the center of that estate, and they're often fortified with the trees and the Italian gardens. As you can see, the Italian gardens were inspired by the concepts of order and beauty, and as you can tell, they are very orderly. And this is what surrounds those villas. The intended purpose of these gardens is for pleasure in the view, so the view of the garden, but also the view from the garden, so like landscape views, and then also contemplation. And then some characteristics of these gardens are they're symmetrical, meaning the same on both sides. The top picture is a really good example of this. Both these little pathways are exactly the same on both sides. So there's like a definite line down the middle. Another characteristic is the grandeur. So the scale of these, they have big wow factors. They also usually have lots of water features, whether it's fountains or ponds or little streams. There's also a lot of statues. Sometimes the statues are in the water, sometimes they're not. These gardens influenced Europe in their layout and content of gardens as they became more popular in Italy. One of the most famous villas is this Villa d'Este. It's known for being terraced on this hill, so it gives it a lot of height and grandeur and texture. There's some people that you can see for scale in these photos. It's just really big, and the fountains are big, and anyway, the water's big. Currently, this villa is actually a hotel that you can go stay at. And a lot of movies have also been filmed at this hotel. Most of them that I'd never heard of, but if you want to look up that list, you can. So, yeah, that's about villas.
Okay, so this is Andrea Palladio. He was a Renaissance architect. Born in 1508, he started off as an apprentice stonemaker. Then later he was a stone carver. And then once he was 30 years old, that's when he really began to start designing architecture. And he did that for about 40 years. He designed around 40 villas, and then some churches and townhouses in that time as well. All of them were erected in Veneto, which the capital of Veneto is Venice. And he was voted the top architect once he hit his 60s, which was pretty cool. And he believed that his architecture was to help with psych values, which were calm, harmony, and dignity. And then going into those psych values, he explained them a little bit. So calm was elements in the room are symmetrical, balanced, and centered. Simple shapes are used, nothing on the walls, little distraction. He believed that the design was all that was needed on the walls. You don't need a lot of clutter, a lot of different pictures on there. And then fitting right into the calm, the harmony. So he believed that a fine building appears as a perfect body. So everything that us humans aren't able to appear as, so like confidence, he believed that the building should make up for that. It should be as that perfect body. So very confident building. And he also believed that all the doors should line up portions, not decorations. Again, like I mentioned with the calm. And then dignity. Many villas were built on a farm. Villa means country home, country house. So he didn't want to hide the barn. Instead, it was important to blend it in with the house. And I'll show you some pictures of that. So here in the corner, you can see that is a house and there's two barns on the side. So the dignity part is not hiding it in the back of the house way far behind. He believed that it should be up front with the house and it should just fit right in. It should look like it belongs there. And then he has two. He has one on both sides of the house to fit that proportion that he likes. In all of these pictures of his villas, you can see all of them fit the proportion with the landscape and with the architecture. All of them have either the pillars matching on both sides, or like here you can see the landscape matching, the staircase on both sides. All of them fit together perfectly. You can split it in half and then it will be perfectly proportionate. Up here in the corner, you can see some of his drawings of his architecture, and you can see how he kind of maps it out. he ended up writing, I think it was around 4 books on architecture, the simple steps to making it perfect in his mind. And he did the simple math, the ratios. He believed that it could all be done in a certain sequence. Um, and so that's what he did. He also didn't believe that there was a certain material that was most beautiful. He believed that wood, stone, brick, concrete, it didn't matter. It could be just as beautiful and look just as expensive. And so he built some more modest villas and some grand castle looking villas. And then, oh, okay, to move on to water. Water was huge in Italy, especially in ancient Rome. So, ancient Rome, it was known as Queen of the Waters. They ended up building 11 aqueducts to get to the city, and they mastered the arc and pivot to let gravity bring it down, and they use that for cooking, drinking, bathing, everything they use the water for. Decoration. They had a lot of beautiful designs. Landscape always had different water features. So here's some of them. These are not as ancient, but they used it for everything, especially the rich. They had a lot of water features. And then in 410 or 537, I got 2 different dates for this. That's when the Goths invaded. They destroyed almost all the aqueducts except for Aqua Virgo, and I have a picture of it up here at the top. And the reason this one didn't get fully destroyed was because it was mostly built underground. They did damage it, but they were able to repair it. And so for the next 1,000 or so years, their only source of water was from the Timber River. So that was kind of devastating for the city that had water for everything. But even now, if you go to Rome, you'll be able to see water features everywhere. They have so many all throughout the city, and in the landscape, they're everywhere. They're for decoration and for functional purposes, just like they always have been. They have some public drinking fountains called Nisonis, and it is clean water, and it's just constantly running. It's sanitary, and if you ever visit, then have some Nisoni water. It's really good. And yeah, there's water for you.
My name is Taylor, and my part in the landscape architecture history of Italy goes over 2 main concepts. The first one is Mannerism. And this is an artistic style that predominated in Italy in the end of the Renaissance and started about the 1520s. And unlike the previous art style, which was the main art style of the Renaissance, which included realism and everything being to scale and very flowy, the Mannerism art style is very strange, and it has constricting spatial relationships. And so some body parts look weirder compared to others. Some arms are elongated, not to normal length, but they also had juxtapositions, which means intense unnatural colors, interesting things next to each other, and just abnormalities. And there's some artwork examples I have here, as well as examples for landscape. And when they use this in landscape, that just meant that the gardens were furnished dramatically. There was not a lot of in between. It was really big and really small. And it was made to be very, very dramatic, but very intense, so that it was an interest for parties and mosques and different things, so that they could show their upper class. And a main part for these gardens is the way they would do that. And some of the ways, another way of designing their gardens was using axial arrangements. And basically that just means that it was on an axis compared to something that might be round or not mirrored on both sides or symmetrical. These were usually symmetrical with a main start point, which was the exit of the building or the house to the end of the garden. And it was mirrored on both sides. Lots of hedges were used in this. And that's how it divided, was with square spaces, square hedges, and then very elaborate statues and other things to create interest in the garden.
Hello, my name is Jamie Monson, and I'm going to be talking about the influence of the Catholic Church on Italian villas and gardens. So, in Renaissance Italy, it was not the monarchs or the wealthy who were building these high end gardens. It was actually the leadership within the Roman Catholic Church. These famous gardens were the homes of the Catholic cardinals, and these cardinals wanted to show themselves as powerful influencers on society through their lavish gardens. These villas became landscape attractions that people would seek out and want to go and visit, and people still do that today. And these villas feature lavish gardens, hedges, statues, and lots of different fountains and water features. Oh. Dang it. Sliding is atrocious. Hello, my name is Jamie Monson, and I'm going to be talking about the influence of the Catholic Church on Italian landscape and architecture. So in Renaissance Italy, it was not the monarchs or the wealthy who were building these high-end gardens. It was actually leadership within the Roman Catholic Church. So these famous gardens were homes of Catholic cardinals, and the cardinals wanted to show themselves as powerful influences on society through these lavish gardens. And people would go and visit them, and they still visit them today. And they're famous for their lavish gardens, hedges, statues, and lots of different fountains and water features. So I'm going to talk about some of the famous villas. These are the Fountains of Neptune at Villa d'Este. They're very beautiful. And then we also have the statue of river gods at Villa Lante. And later on, I'm going to talk some more about Villa Lante. We also have the Theater of Borromeo Palace. This really does look like a palace, and it's very beautiful, and the architecture is just amazing. And the gardens located here are also very beautiful. And we have the Villa Medici at Viso, which has a gorgeous view of Italy and is beautiful within the villa as well. Then we have Villa Adriana, which is famous for this sort of mirror pond that reflects the world around it. It is very, very beautiful, and the way that the water reflects the statues and the trees and the building in the center is so cool and very well designed and thought out. So, as I mentioned before, I'm going to talk a little bit about Villa Lante. So, Villa Lante at Bagnia is a garden near central Italy that is attributed to Jacopo Briozzi de Vignola, and it became famous and known as Villa Lante when the villa was passed to Ippolito Lante Montefeltro della Rovere after the villa was 100 years old. So these gardens are famous for their cascades, fountains, and dripping grottos, and the flow of all the different fountains and water features were engineered by Tommaso Ginnici. The top terrace of the villa features more grottos, statues, and fountains, and two small houses that lead to a secret garden. So the architectural design of Villa Lante is very intricate and well designed and thought out. It is formed by two cassini, or houses, which are identical. And something interesting is that these houses were built 30 years apart from each other by completely different people. Even though they were built by different people, they are identical and have the same square shape and amount of windows and entrances and exits, and the interior is also the same. And so for the garden, it mostly consists of hedges and this main water feature. So the hedges are formed very intricate, almost maze-like designs that are well groomed, so that way you are able to see the shapes and the designs. And they also surround different statues located within the gardens. But the main part of the gardens is a large fountain and square pond located in the center. And that center fountain features the river gods that I mentioned before. So it's very beautiful, very well designed and thought out. and very well taken care of, so people can go and see how beautiful it is. So that's it for our presentation. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed.